Welcome to this explainer. Okay, to kick things off, I want you to close your eyes for just a second. Picture a quiet, misty dirt road winding through the lush green mountains of rural Japan. It's perfectly still. The only sound is the wind rustling through the bamboo. And right there, sitting quietly by the side of the road, half swallowed by bright green moss, is a small, weathered stone statue. Today, we are going to uncover the hidden philosophical depths of these ancient moss-covered roadside statues. We're looking at a centuries-old mystery that completely bridges the gap between ancient Japanese folklore and, surprisingly enough, modern concepts of psychology and quantum energy. Now, you might be wondering, have I actually seen these stones? Well, if you've ever traveled outside the bustling cities of Tokyo or Kyoto and ventured deep into rural Japan, you have almost certainly passed them. But even if you haven't visited Japan in person yet, I guarantee you know them. They're an absolute staple of Japanese pop culture, constantly popping up in the beautiful, hand-painted background art of anime. I mean, think about the opening scenes of Studio Ghibli's Spirited Away, right? Those strange little stone faces greeting the characters at the edge of the forest. They aren't just cute decorative elements. They represent something incredibly profound. They literally mark the boundary between the known, safe human world and the wild, mysterious unknown. All right, let's jump straight into part 1, the Roadside Stone Guardians. To really understand the unbelievable supernatural mystery we're about to unpack, we first need to look at what their actual day-to-day job was. These statues are known historically as Dorokujin, or more commonly today, Dosojin. Basically, they are the guardian gods of travelers and borders. See, historically, Japanese villages were highly close-knit communities. The village itself? Safe. But everything outside the village, the dark mountain passes, the dense forests, the neighboring territories, that was potentially very dangerous. It was a realm of bandits, wild animals, and, most importantly, evil spirits. So Dosojin were placed at physical boundaries. You'd find them at crossroads, at the very edges of villages, and up at the tops of mountain passes. They were basically the spiritual bouncers of the ancient world. They stood guard to keep malicious forces out, and offered a blessing of safe passage to weary travelers leaving the safety of the town. Which brings us to part 2, impossible supernatural phenomena. Here is where the history takes a really sharp, fascinating turn into the unknown. What actually happens when these simple, silent rocks start doing things that are, well, entirely impossible? During the Edo period in Japan, there were widespread, honestly terrifying accounts of these roadside stones springing to life. In Volume 3 of a famous classical text called the Kokon Hyakumonogatari Hyoban, the authors documented some extremely specific phenomena. People reported walking past these Dorokujin at night and seeing them literally glowing in the dark with this pale, eerie light. Other people claimed the stones emitted strange, unearthly sounds. Sometimes, villagers would even report that the statues manifested actual physical miracles or delivered sudden spiritual revelations. So the giant question facing the people at the time was pretty obvious. Are there truly heavenly gods living inside these rocks? Enter our main guy in part 3, Yamaoka Genrin's energy theory. So, Yamaoka Genrin was a 17th century scholar. And in a time when most people would just shrug and accept that a ghost or a god had possessed the stone, Genrin took a huge step back. He completely rejected the literal, spooky ghost story. Instead, he approached this cultural phenomenon with a mind-bending, proto-scientific framework. He didn't look to the heavens to explain the glowing stones. He looked at us. He systematically broke down the mystery. First, he observed the stone's nature. He stated plainly that the stone itself is just dead matter. It's made of dense earth, representing extreme yin energy in traditional philosophy, meaning it's perfectly still, heavy, cold, and totally passive. It possesses no inherent soul or divine spark whatsoever. But then he examined the mechanism. Genrin argued that the real catalyst wasn't divine intervention from above. The catalyst was centuries of intense human emotion. Every single time a traveler passed by, they directed their deepest fears of the dark and their most fervent, desperate prayers for safety right at that specific stone. This naturally leads us to part 4, which is arguably the coolest part, the human consciousness battery. To truly grasp this brilliant 17th century concept today, you have to think of these ancient stone statues not as magical artifacts, but as literal rechargeable batteries for human consciousness. Let's walk through how this builds, step by step. Step 1, the physical placement. By putting these stones at borders and crossroads, you guarantee heavy foot traffic. Step 2, over hundreds of years, thousands upon thousands of travelers pass by. They stop, they bow, they pray, they worry. Step 3, All of that intensely focused human emotion acts as ki, or active energy. Remember how the stone is a dense, empty, passive vessel of yin? Well, generation after generation, that intense, active human ki is poured directly into the stone, slowly charging it up and condensing inside that dense earth. And finally, step 4, the breaking point. After centuries of acting as a giant sponge for collective human anxiety and hope, the stone becomes completely saturated. The energy literally has nowhere else to go, so it bursts outward, manifesting as the physical anomalies people reported: the glowing lights, the strange sounds, the miracles. So, what does this all mean? Part 5, we create the gods. Think about the sheer magnitude of what Genren is proposing here. It completely flips the script on how humans traditionally interact with the divine. On one hand, you have the traditional top-down view common in so many cultures around the world, the idea that gods descend from heaven by their own will to inhabit earthly spaces. But Genren proposes this uniquely Japanese bottom-up energy theory. It's human belief, the collective, focused energy of thousands of passing minds, that actually elevates a simple piece of rock into a deity. It's literally the concept of the collective unconscious acting on the physical world, centuries before modern psychology even had a name for it. The absolute crucial point here is this: the stone didn't have magical powers. We gave it magical powers. Just let the magnitude of that collective human consciousness sink in for a second. All those travelers in rural Japan, walking through the dark, terrified of the unknown, they inadvertently created the very guardians they were begging for protection. Their shared humanity, their shared vulnerabilities and hopes literally charged the physical landscape with power. Yamaoka Genren summarized this perfectly. He said, "Gods don't come down from the sky to inhabit stones. It is the power of collective human belief that turns a simple rock into a deity." It is just such a beautiful, deeply empowering way to look at faith and culture. It suggests that the sacred isn't something handed down to us from afar. It's something we generate together over time through our shared experiences and our shared geography. And the crazy thing? This isn't just dusty history. This energy exchange is still happening today, right now, all across Japan. So here is my final thought for you. Next time you take a trip to Japan, whether you're hiking through the mountains or just walking past a local cultural monument in a neighborhood, and you see a small roadside shrine, pause for a second. Leave a little prayer, or even just offer a moment of focused thought. Because when you do, you aren't just honoring the past. You are actively participating in a beautiful, ongoing cultural phenomenon. You are charging a centuries-old battery with your own spark of human energy.